when you study proteins and you study health, there is no way protein is a healthy sort of substance. The body can't use protein at all in the first place. When you examine the digestive process of proteins, you find that amino acids is more the issue. The other issue is that when you look at the human body, it is not designed as a protein-eating species. It does not have the level of hydrochloric acid. It does not have the short intestinal tract for putrefaction. It has major absorption, which is much more than the omnivores and the carnivores. Carnivores are completely a different structured animal. Why is protein bad for your kidneys? Because it's high phosphorus, and it leaches calcium to get a balance. It'll push out calcium and magnesium. Plus, it's all acidic. It's dead tissue. If it's not an animal protein, then it is a protein that is dormant, that has enzyme inhibitors, high phytic acids like beans, things like this. Totally bad for your kidneys. Totally bad. All proteins rip the GI tract. Study after study after study has proved that protein is linked to colon cancers and kidney failure. And for this guy to come and say that on the news is just sickening, when you have so many people in trouble and now they're going to think maybe they should have proteins. It's okay. This guy hasn't a clue. And that's a sad thing. A high-protein diet is associated with improved bone health and a lower risk of fracture. He doesn't know what he's talking about. High protein also lowers blood pressure and improves diabetes symptoms. He doesn't know what he's talking about. You actually eat a high-protein... Matter of fact, we were just... I don't know if I read it to you guys, but there was just another study showing that high-protein diets throw people into diabetes. Why? All right? Kidneys. And the kidneys then, what's on top of them? The adrenal glands. So when the kidneys go, so does the appendage, the adrenal glands. And it's called, there's the sugar metabolism, there's the autonomic nervous system, there's the mineral utilization, there's the gonadal steroids, there's all these things. And for him to make statements like this is a sickening, because high protein leads to high blood pressure big time. What happens if people have high blood pressure? They're on these high protein diets. We take them off the proteins. Guess what happens to the blood pressure? So this guy has no clinical experience. If he does, I don't know. I think he's steeping in his own ego, because this is ridiculous. The blood is always going to maintain its base chemistry atmosphere, or you're dead. So, you know, the stealing of calcium and then sodium and sometimes chloride is obvious when the blood becomes too acidic, when your diet is full of protein. The blood cannot support a protein diet. I don't know why medical and other people don't realize that. Your blood cannot handle a protein diet. You cannot bring that pH of the blood down. And you can't do that. So there's another case, this man recommending here's another high-protein diet doctor out there telling people just to eat meat. You cannot bring that play with that blood pH like that. That person has no idea of chemistry. He doesn't understand what's going on and what's going to happen to the people. Look at how many people Atkins actually killed with his diet. There's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people died under Atkins' diet, one way or another. You cannot create acidosis or ketosis in the body and expect to be well and healthy and happy. That's for sure. There was a comment that this gentleman made. Let's see what your name is here, my friend. If it continues on here, but there was a comment you made about how it lowers blood pressure and controls blood sugar. I'm going to tell you, I've seen well over 150,000 people, and I've had 40 years of this. Those people that are diabetics, check your blood sugars. Protein makes your blood sugar go up, especially when you're controlling it well with carbohydrates, fruits, and vegetables. Have a protein meal and see what happens to your blood sugars. Also, there was a comment made that, of course, when you have real kidney weakness, you can't do proteins because it hurts them. Now, let me see. When you have a weakness, protein can hurt it, but protein doesn't hurt you until you have a weakness. What kind of chemistry do you think makes the weakness in the first place? It's protein, because carbohydrates don't beat you up. Carbohydrates are mainly base chemistry. So you're looking at protein, which is more the acid side of chemistry. That's the nitrogen side. And even though medical doctors have nitrogen all screwed up in their minds, too much nitrogen is acidic. It really breaks down. You have proteins that are not as acidic, and you have proteins that are very acidic. And you could say that about complex sugars. You could say that about starch too. That basic sugars are more base, and then the more complex chemistry, you get more acidic. And you could say that about all of that. But this ridiculous notion that the human body, that protein somehow makes the physical body better blood pressure, it's a blood pressure that goes up from proteins. Look at Dr. Oz. He took 12 people, took them to a zoo, took them off of their protein diets, which were causing the high cholesterols, which were causing all the kidney weaknesses, was causing all the cholesterols. He took them off of those protein diets for 12 days and put them all on fruits and vegetables, and what happened? Every one of them, all their stats came down. Why is meat so bad for you? And again, we're talking about something that's putrefactive as opposed to something that ferments. It's a big difference between putrefaction and fermentation and the chemicals released between the two. On the other hand, you have a high nitrogen phosphorus source versus high calcium magnesium sources. So your chemistry is unbalanced to that of all the other chemistry on the planet. Chemistry of an effect of chemistry. When you eat meat, that's an effective chemistry. When you eat fruits and vegetables, that's the causative of chemistry. In other words, you're eating the substance that creates the meat, so to speak. And so why would you go to the meat? Why would you have to rewind that? Think, giving all the digestive process problems, the need of hydrochloric acid, the need of bicarbonate, then that whole need of the body to break tissue apart and get it down to the amino acid stage. It makes no sense when you're consuming amino acids in their more simplistic form. It's a less protein structure. Fruits and vegetables are the least protein structures of life, and yet the strongest animals eat them. So you have to understand, also from a chemistry viewpoint, you have some calcium, but you have far more phosphorus and a nitrogen source, higher amino acids than you do carbon. Well, carbon is the main need, not amino acids. This isn't a nitrogen planet. This is a carbon planet. The overconsumption of dead animal meat has ingested in the human lots of epinephrine and norepinephrine. Well, these are the adrenalins. Well, because of that, the adrenal glands have shut down because they've sensed too much epinephrine in the body. So you see that a lot when you take someone that's been a meat eater and you take them off of meat and you start to put them on raw fruits and vegetables. They'll come in really tired and fatigued, and they'll say, I got to have my meat for energy. Well, guess what? Your body doesn't burn protein for energy. It burns sugar for energy. It burns carbon and oxygen like your car does. So the protein isn't burned for energy, and you don't want to burn it for energy. That was Atkins' philosophy. Starve the body for a sugar, which is essential, and the body will return to its fat reserves and convert fat or glycogen back into glucose. Well, you had to eat high protein to get above the sugar and the fat to do that. The problem with it, extreme acidosis, excessive fat breakdown, ketosis, and same thing basically, and pretty soon a lot of people died, had open heart, had a lot of problems with the acidosis. This is insane. Now there's another medical doctor pushing a high protein diet. What are these guys? I don't know where these guys come from. They need to start reading some books and learning outside of their modality. They're hurting too many people. This is misinformation, bad information. It does not suit the human species whatsoever. There's no evidence. There's no scientific proof. Matter of fact, all the scientific proof is on the other side. Proteins is what damages the colon, responsible for colon cancers, kidneys. Protein's always been the fight that man has had. Milk proteins in particular, the most mucus-forming proteins on the planet. So protein isn't the joy of the race, it is the bane of the race. If you look at the frugivorous species, the primates, they eat simple fruits, which is simple amino acid structures. It's amino acids that's the gig here, and the concept of complete amino acids is ridiculous. I understand. If a person wants a piece of meat once in a while, do I care? No. But I am a healer and a naturopath, and realistically, animal protein is not healthy for anyone, period. You can claim you need it, but that's just going to your own personal issues. You might claim that some people need it because of their consciousness, and I probably wouldn't argue with that. Some people feel they need meat, they have to have meat because they feel they have to have meat, not because they have to have it for any health reason. There's nothing healthy about dead tissue and stagnant blood. Nothing whatsoever. Magnetically or chemically, nothing like that. It leaches calcium out of your body. There's no way you can convince anybody that eating meat is healthy. I don't care who says what about it. Let them go and do whatever they want. We're all healers on this channel. All right, hello, Dr. Morse. I'm a 21-year-old male. I grew up in an environment where everyone eats all kinds of unhealthy food, and I had no idea that something like eating meat can be that bad for health. I know, and it is that bad for health. It is that bad. When you go back and you look at even what they're saying, that the average diet when I grew up had about 450 grams of protein in it, which I had meat 3 times a day. I mean, that was the staple in farming, was your meat, because you slaughtered for it. I've been to the slaughterhouse many times. We always brought home our animals in pieces. But nobody knows. I mean, it's just the way our society's grown because we're not in the tropics here. So we've had to survive. We don't have that anymore because we have trucking. We have understood, many before us, including ourselves, have seen what high-protein diets do. Although that information has been out, like I said, since the earlier 1800s. Tilden, Dr. Tilden, medical doctor, wrote a lot about proteins back in the later 1800s, early 1900s. Shelton, the natural hygienic people have wrote extensively about the proteins, and protein matter. Carrington, all these people wrote about this. These were medical doctors, these were scientists, these were people that understood the chemistry of foods, and it's just never been, if you have a piece of dead animal once in a while, big deal. But if this is what you're consistently doing, kiss your kidneys goodbye and kiss your bowels goodbye. And, you're going to stink. And you just keep going on. This is putrefactive. It brings in the little gnarly bacteriums. You bring in more gnarly creatures because you're dealing in putrefactive foods. I've watched animals a lot. I watch the design of bowels between the omnivores, the frugivores, the herbivores. I've studied this for a lot of years. And it's easy to see the differences between the way omnivores digest and eliminate, frugivores, herbivores. It's interesting to watch all that. There's been years of study of protein consumption and the effect upon colon cancer. And last year was a 30-year study linking protein diets to colon cancers. I have people in here that followed the Atkins diet that lost their bladder, that had strokes, had heart attacks. It is unbelievable what proteins do. This channel will not promote the use of proteins whatsoever. I've showed medical doctors this for years. It stills pain. It makes pain. It escalates pain in the body. When you take people off of protein, the pain goes away. All I can say is that there's so many reasons why that you would not do proteins. And I can tell you, there was a mention about bodybuilders in here. I've got a bodybuilder right now that if you mention high-protein diets, he'd probably cock you. He's just one of many that I have, professional athletes that now have rheumatoid arthritis. A couple of them are in surgeries now because of what the proteins did to the kidneys and the effect that backed up into the lymph system, creating extreme acidosis, the extreme loss of calcium, and the loss of bone tissue, and then the end result of extreme body pain. Arnold Schwarzenegger's another example of that process. Some of these people have had to have open heart and stuff like that. There is absolutely no bona fide conclusion that one would have a high-protein diet. It doesn't fit in our species. It doesn't fit in chemistry. It's the acid side of chemistry. It doesn't fit in any shoe that you put it on. It doesn't fit anywhere. These 7-day tests and stuff, those are bogus type of craps. I don't go for any of that kind of crap. You're going to control your blood pressure with protein. You're going to control your blood sugars. Believe it or not, people think that. And sometimes, until you get on a raw food diet, do you really see the effect of protein on diet. You would if you were having starch and you quit starch and put protein. But when you get off of protein and you go on fruits and vegetables, you're going to find your blood sugar hovering down. Maybe some fruits will escalate it as you glucose load, but you're really going to see what protein does to blood sugar even. And it's amazing to see it. And I have hundreds of cases of diabetes, hundreds of cases currently right now, thousands through the years. And so I'm very aware of blood sugars. I'm very aware of protein and blood sugars, very aware of protein on kidneys, very aware of this. It's one thing to see a 7-day study. It's another thing to spend 40 years and 150,000 clients. For this health channel, I want all my clients and my friends and my people off of protein, and you'll see the big difference that it makes in your health, and then go back on protein and show you what happens, especially anybody in pain or anybody with kidneys breaking down, anything like that. And you got to realize the same chemistry breaks you down at any level of the body. And protein doesn't just break you down when you're already breaking down, it's what breaks you down. You have to realize the acid side of chemistry is the corrosive side, and proteins play more in that ballpark than it does in base chemistry ballparks. Just the way it is. That's man's biggest downfall, is he's like a pit bull. He can't let go of that protein consciousness, and he needs to. Because until he does, he's going to keep driving himself into the ground, because that's the main food that's drove man into the ground. Just take a look at where the human species is. And we're a product of what the thinking of science has been to date. We're a product of that. We're a product of our society, our scientific minds. We're a product of that. How healthy is the human being? This is the point. What we've done, what we've been educated, what we've been taught to this point has all been lies. They don't work. They're not true. The concept of the diseases, that whole concept, illusionary, ridiculous. Those that treat diseases will never find their cure. They will never find their remedy, because they're traipsing in forests far away with no light or map.